Good evening. This Board of Trustees briefing meeting will come to order, please. The date is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, and the time is 5:35 p.m., and we have a confirmed quorum. Thank you for joining us for this meeting both in person and on live via our YouTube stream. The full recording of the meeting will be available on YouTube and archived through the board website, where viewers have the option of watching the meeting with closed captions translated in multiple languages. Gracias por acompañarnos en esta reunión, tanto en persona como en línea a través de nuestra transmisión de YouTube. La grabación completa de la reunión estará disponible en YouTube y se archivará a través del sitio web de la Junta, donde los espectadores tienen la opción de ver la reunión con subtítulos traducidos a varios idiomas. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Continuing with public comment, we had no speaker sign up, so we'll continue to forward discussion reports. Item 4A, CSA regulation, facility standards, safety and security. Do we want to do all of them at the same time or individually? Okay, yes, please.
Good afternoon, members of the board, President Nájera, and Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. So this item is a regulation, does not require board approval, and this is in alignment with TASB Regulation Update 72, in compliance with SB 8. This regulation was added to address the designation and use of private spaces. Any question on this regulation? Or would you like for me to discuss?
Please continue.
Okay. All right. So this regulation is facility standards, safety, and security. As mentioned, TASB is recommending that we add this. We don't currently have this regulation in place, but there is also a policy that's going to go along with this regulation to ensure that our students are using the restroom or private spaces in accordance with their biological sex. Okay, so we have this in place to ensure that we are in compliance, as mentioned, with the CSA local and legal requirements. And then it goes on to discuss the purpose, the application, designation of private spaces, single occupancy private spaces. In that section, we did confirm, as far as in our district, we only have one campus, that is James Butler, that has a family, indicated family restroom, that signage. But all other campuses are already in compliance with this regulation. And then we also have the multiple occupancy private spaces. There are going to be some exceptions to this regulation, as you'll see on page 2 of 3. And then those exceptions are outlined for situations as when there's providing custodial services, performing maintenance, inspecting facilities, providing medical or other emergency assistance, which includes medical assistance provided by athletic trainers, team physicians, or other medical personnel, assisting an individual who needs assistance using the facility, performing law enforcement duties, rendering assistance to prevent a serious threat to order or safety, allowing a child age 9 or younger to use the space when accompanied by an individual caring for the child. So again, those are exceptions when it's not going to be that same gender in that facility.
Okay.
We also will be presenting this regulation. It has not been posted yet, as I wanted to share it with you all first. We will be adding it to our regulation link website this week, and also be sharing it with our administrators at our next CBC and leadership meetings to make sure that everybody is following this regulation.
Questions?
Any questions?
Questions for Ms. Martinez? Vasquez, just with this being our first board briefing meeting, just looking at the agenda, I don't think this item, because it seems to me like if we have questions on the regulations, that we can see them as part of the policy, structure. And then if we have questions, but that way Ms. Martinez doesn't have to stand up here and tell us about the regulations. I think mostly the reason that we want to see regulations is to make sure that as regulations are updated, because I know that's superintendent work, but that we see and ensure and are able to observe that the regulations or the policies are in line with the regulations. And also, as we start to see other items that result from them, for example, staffing, et cetera, because of the staffing regulation, EEB, so that when budget comes up and we see some of the shifts or some of the changes, we understand where that's coming from because we've seen any updates, et cetera, that have been made. So it's mostly just so we get to see the bigger picture and make sure that our policies are in line. That's it. But I don't think we need a separate section.
Okay, so moving
Perfect.
forward, we wouldn't have a separate section unless it is going to be aligned with a policy change? Is that
No, we just put them under the policy
under
component
policies?
here.
Got it.
Yeah, and if we have questions, we can ask the questions. Okay, continuing then. Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, so now we'll continue with agenda item 5A, Administrative Services. So,
Mr. President, are we moving past 4B and C? We covered 4A.
I thought you did all 4B and C all together.
No, it was just 4A.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for the catch, Mr. Woodcraft. Well, are there any questions then, just based on the previous discussion, are there any questions on B and C for Ms. Martinez? We received the material in advance, so if you have questions, we can ask them.
So, no questions per se, just a small comment because we're in the ability to still edit, I'm assuming. Page 6 of 6 for DC, I would just ask that we strike acting from Mr. Vasquez's title. Some of the other ones have strike-throughs already, but I didn't see that's stricken, so I would like to make sure that you retain
I really appreciate that, Mr. Woodcraft. Thank you.
But it seems like DC is just, I mean, we talked about this last board meeting, right? So other than that, it's just formalizing what we've already discussed, so no big deal.
Right.
Yes, sir. And once, just to add to that, once I do post it, I do make sure that we do add Mr. Vasquez and remove interim with an updated date. Yes.
Thank you.
So I will make sure that's updated.
Okay, any other questions either on 4A, B, or C? Okay, then, continuing then with the board briefing section 5A, Administrative Services. The purpose of this briefing is to allow trustees to ask questions and discuss items that will be considered for action at our upcoming regular board meeting. So at this particular board briefing, there is no action. Any action that does come will be at the regular board meeting. We received board packets about 4 days ago and have had time to review the materials and prepare questions. We'll move through each section of the agenda, and we may identify items that we wish to discuss. Any questions that cannot be fully addressed today will be taken by administration and responded to prior to the regular board meeting so that we have all the information needed to be prepared to take action at the regular board meeting. Okay, so again, we'll begin with the items listed under 5A, Administrative Services. Are there any items under segment 5A that you'd like to discuss?
Yes, sir. If I could discuss item 5A1, 3, and 4.
5A1, 3, and 4. Any other items?
I do have a brief question on 5A2A.
5A2A. Okay, continuing then with section A of the board briefing. Ms. Macias, proclamation for Theater in Schools Month.
Yes, just a question for administration. For the proclamations, is there a way that we could have them presented to us during our board briefings? And that way they are highlighted, but do we need to take action on them? I know in the past we've done that before, but is it possible that it being superintendent work, but we want to highlight, could we move forward without the approval and then being presented during our briefings?
Blanca, is there anything that needs board approval for?
Good evening, Board President Nahara, members of the board, and Superintendent Vasquez. Tonight, you're not taking any action, but if I understand your question correctly, you want it discussed tonight and then voted on at the regular board meeting?
No, my question is proclamations, these in particular are ceremonial. Could we have them during our briefings, for example, during this time, celebrate but not take action?
Yeah, if you want to read them, sure. Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
You're just not going to vote on them, and you wouldn't, my understanding correct, you would not want to vote on them at the regular
Correct.
meeting. That'd be
Right.
fine. Yeah,
Since it's ceremonial,
right.
there's no need for us to vote on them, so let's not pack our agendas with items that there's no requirement for us to take action on, but yet at the same time,
They're
we want...
important.
Yes, they're important, so we want to take the opportunity to recognize, but rather so they would come to the board briefings as
An announcement.
proclamations from, administration, so that we're all aware, we know what is being recognized, and we can celebrate it without having to take action on something that's not necessary.
Sure, yes, you can do that.
Okay.
So I really appreciate the advocacy on this one. Thank you. I think a really cool happy medium, if we choose to entertain that, is the board president can issue it on behalf of the board. So that could be one of those things where you could just read the proclamation, like on behalf of the board of trustees, and then you issue it, sign it, and go.
Is it signed by the,
Most of them are.
yes, if it's signed by you, then yes.
So the ceremonial proclamations, we don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're the expert, I'm not, I use Google. The ceremonial proclamations, I don't believe we need it. You can laugh, it's fine, it's good. ChatGPT is a great tool. The ceremonial proclamations, you don't have to take a vote on. However, the ones that have like no kidding legal standing, hey, we're going to put this into a deed or into the sale of something, or
The difference between
the
that
investment
and
criteria.
a resolution, correct, yes.
Yes.
The
Well, there's still
resolutions come from the
proclamations that
board.
we have, neither here nor there. Yes.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Okay.
Okay, so,
Thank you for your guidance.
okay,
I know we're not taking action on that, but was that just a conversation, or is that the way we intend to move forward? Is just to issue them at our regular board meetings? Do we know? You're not voting. Correct.
Or for this one, I would recommend we wait till
Right.
next
right, so.
next week. But however, for March, then we would put
Right.
it in place. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah,
Board President.
that's what we'll, so, since we're still following standard practice and our, or previous practices, and these proclamations appear on our agenda, which will be posted, tomorrow is the deadline, we'll continue, but I think what we're trying to say is that we want to make the process as efficient as possible, and we'll figure out how to do that based on the discussion.
I'm a little bit confused because I wasn't understanding Ms. Macias's point very clearly. So I know that you mentioned a little bit about including them in the board briefing, right, Ms. Macias?
Correct.
And then also at the same time still celebrating them during our regular board meetings?
No, we would celebrate them here during our briefings. They would come and present to us, and then our board president would accept the proclamation on behalf of the board.
And then the accepted proclamation would be issued at the regular board meeting, or it's just in these briefings and then that's it?
That's it.
Okay.
This is the opportunity for recognition and celebration will be at the briefing.
Okay. And so say, for example, in March, I'm just going to use this as an example, this particular proclamation for the folks that are celebrating is we would have like the fine arts folks here and all stuff. Okay, understood.
We're just not going to take action on them because it's not necessary.
Okay.
Even in March.
Okay.
But not to be misconstrued with student recognition ceremonies for the El Dorado football team. That would
Correct.
still be its own separate entity.
Correct.
Okay. And, yeah.
No change to the board honors. Two A, Mr. Woodcraft, fire alarm upgrades.
It was me. Excellent. I think I'll give somebody time to get up, I guess, but this is going to be a pretty simple question. It looks like we're just renewing an existing contract and we're asking for less money than previous awards. My assumption is we're not using all of that, so rather than tie it up in budgeting, we're going to lessen the amount requested for the year?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Woodcraft. So we do review expenditures, and when we meet with our department, we speak with them as well. And so in this case, we saw that the expenditures aren't as high as we originally thought, so we reduced it.
That's a point of financial responsibility that I would love to highlight, where we're taking a proactive approach to find some of that wiggle room in budgets that we may not be using, releasing that, and then being able to apply it somewhere else in an area of need. So thank you and the entire team for pointing that out and helping us get better.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodcraft. And I know, Mr. Blanco, you will, but if there is, with, again, this being the first briefing session, if there's something that we start to delve into and you think it's inappropriate, please jump right in and put a stop to it. But for example, as we've been going through the LSG training, you know, one of the things that we've discussed is what is superintendent work and what is board work. These contract extensions are some of the things that fall to superintendent work and not board work, because when the original contracts come through us as a result of an RFQ, an RFP, the contract is presented to us because it exceeds whatever dollar amount is listed in our policy. We then approve the contract, and within the body of the contract are all the terms, including in many instances, extensions of that same contract. So those extensions are approved when the board approves the original contract. These items were coming to us for informational purposes, and it was brought to us at the request of the board some, time ago. But this is superintendent work. These extensions, which were approved in the original contract, do not need to come to us.
Can I push back just a little bit?
Is there?
I think you can.
Mr. Nahera, good afternoon. Yes, so extensions, we bring them to the board because it is in CH local. So if the board decides that it's superintendent work, we would just need to update a CH local.
Okay. Mr. Woodcraft?
So it's a good conversation. I'm gonna appreciate this. I don't know that I'm entirely comfortable with that, just because we don't know. We're still reissuing money for the extension. So there's a monetary amount involved, but we may not necessarily know what updated quotes or competition may be out there or different avenues of approach. I would assume that 99 out of 100 times, if there's a contract that we don't like, we're not going to renew it. On the flip side, if there's one that we really like, that we are. But I still think being able to have that insight, if nothing else, every year we're going to see this and we're going to know that it's there. If not, I think contract extensions are just going to get lost in the mix, and we may potentially lose oversight on who we're paying and how much.
So contract extensions do not go to RFP. So we don't get rebid every single time when they do come to us. It's just a ceremonial approval of something. And most of our contracts, I believe if I'm wrong, have outs for no cause. So at any point, if a contract is not working for us, whether it be 10 days after we've signed the contract or 2 years after we've signed the contract, we have the ability to notify that we're terminating the contract.
So I can offer a little bit of background on this. The process that Mr. Nahara is referencing was in place for a long time. Previous board made a determination that they wanted to see extensions coming to the board for whatever reasons. It depends on the approval that the board makes when they award the initial RFP or RFQ response. if the board votes to authorize and approve the RFP or RFQ awarded to X vendor, bidder, whoever, for a period of 1 year, plus all extensions at the discretion of the administration, they don't have to come back to the board. And that, for a long time, was the practice here at the district. There was a change on the board and a desire made to bring all of them, regardless of what the board approved with the RFP or the RFQ. So that's board decision on how you want to handle that. And we can certainly structure it so that when you have a 3-year contract, you leave that to the discretion of the superintendent and the administration to determine whether they're going to go forward with the extension or use the cancellation clause to then bring it back to the board and tell you, okay, we decided we're not going to go with an extension on this vendor. We're going to reissue an RFP or RFQ to see what else is out there. But yeah, you're turning that role over to the administration.
Mr. Blanco, I have a question on this as well. So that's one aspect of why this comes back to us. But another one, and I know that budgeted purchases of goods or services that cost $50,000 or more come to us as well. Is that also simultaneous? Is that one of the reasons why it also these contract extensions come back to us, or
Because of the approval and because of what's in the local policy? Yes.
So previously to this last legislative cycle, and David Solis, Chief Financial Officer for the district. So previous to this last legislative cycle, the procurement threshold to competitively procure items was at 50,000. So it could have been that was just in line with that. Now that is just the threshold for procurement on what steps need to be taken. That the threshold for board approval that is retained by you all to determine, okay, is it 50, is it 75, is it 100? But it just so happens that both of them were in line. Now that they've increased the bidding threshold to 100,000, obviously anything over 100 we do have to competitively bid, but anything over 50 we would still have to bring right now to you all for approval, any budgeted cost. So those are those discussions on, do we increase that to match? But I think what would be helpful though, if the board is electing to go down that path, is to kind of give you some information on saying, okay, this is how many items are over 50. This is how many items are over 100 or over 75. So you guys have a good idea of how many items you wouldn't be approving in the future. So I think like a report to say, this is how many purchases were over 50 that required your approval. If we moved it to 75, the board elected to move it to 75, this is how many less it would be. If it was 100, this is how many. This way you get an idea of what that threshold would be or what you may not be approving.
Maybe that's something that we could consider for the next board meeting, so that we could have, and not a week from today,
No.
but in March,
What we
Right.
could do is for the next briefing, we can bring you
Next
that
briefing.
information.
right? So that we can consider the board policies associated with it, what the threshold would be, and then make sure that there's alignment on what actually comes to us.
Mr. Solis, did you mention that the new amount for a threshold established by the Texas State Legislature is 100?
For competitively bidding. So any purchase over 100 has to be competitively procured.
And that applies to school districts?
Yes,
Only to school districts?
not only, I don't know if it's only to school
It
districts.
might be counties too, but
Okay.
we'd have to go back and check it. But that's for the initial process.
Right.
That you're going to secure some service or good. And the extension process is what we're talking about now, how you want to handle that. One other thing you could do, along Mr. Solis's suggestion, is receive a list of things without it necessarily being an agenda item. These are the upcoming contracts. We have these, and you might see one, hey, that's a $750,000 annual spend with 3 extensions. And you might know something, you might want to see that reviewed, tell the administration, is there a reason why we're just extending that? It can just be conversation. And you can, as a board member, call it to their attention, and if you guys decide that it needs to be bid, then the board can make a determination that you want to see that rebid. I understand the concern. You're worried that, well, we get locked into contracts and we don't, nobody's looking at it.
Well,
I think
and-
they do, and the administration, there's a little bit of trust here, turning over the work to the administration.
And I don't,
I don't want to say it's a trust issue. I trust the team. I think for me, it's really twofold. One is education. So 3 of us have been on the seat for 9-ish months. And the only reason I know about some of these programs is because they come up for contract extensions. And so it's almost a forcing mechanism for me to get educated on who they are, where they are, what they're doing, what's it cost us. As we'll see in one of the future presentations, we've had it for 10 years. We want to do it for another 10 years on an auto renew. So what have been the results over the past 10 years? Like, why should we auto renew it? What are some of these things? And I think, and Mr. Blanco, I think you brought up a potential great compromise. My biggest concern outside of just the education piece is if we turn this completely over, and there's no necessarily board action, then we may lose some of that education piece. We may lose some of those updated parameters or any type of metrics that we may look to be collecting. Part of it is the money situation, but the other part I think is y'all know what's going on every day. We may not necessarily get a chance to dig that deep, if that makes sense. And so maybe a list of, hey, here's what's coming up. And then if we, in this case, if we wanted an update on the fire alarm, whatever extension, I could ask for a brief, and hopefully it's not a big thing for Mr. Carrasco to whip it up. But I think that might be a good compromise if others are open to it.
Any other questions on the fire alarm upgrades, Mr. Woodcraft?
No, sir, that was it.
Okay.
That was it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Not longer than I anticipated.
All right, moving on then, Ms. Macias. Number 3, revisions to local policy.
Yes, this is something that is board work, so just a brief update for both policies, CSA and EHBAF.
Yes, ma'am. So I will, good evening again. My name is Amanda Martinez, Coordinator for Administrative Services. CSA Local, this is one of the last update, TASB Update 126. We do have this one and then one more from our Student Health Services, and that will be it for Update 126. So again, as mentioned earlier, this is a designation and use of private spaces section that was added to our CSA local. And all that it is saying is that we need to have regulations in place, in regard to that, our facilities.
That was a regulation you showed us earlier.
That was a regulation, yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Nájera, Superintendent Vasquez, and members of the board. I'm Melissa Olivares, Director of Special Education. Policy EHBAF is regarding the cameras that are allowable in the special ed classrooms. And so as far as this, we're only making one change, which is one line that was added. A video recording of an alleged incident shall be made available as required by law. Everything else was already in our policy.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on then with 5A4, Senate Bill 11.
Yes, for Senate Bill 11, just asking for you to teach us. We are going to vote on this next week. What is the administration's recommendation?
So my understanding, when cabinet met, my understanding is that anticipating what you all, we're just anticipating what you all are going to vote for. But this is not something that I believe is going to move, as far as, if I can say that, Mr. Vasquez, as far as the recommendation from cabinet.
Yeah, if I may, this would require us to designate a time in the school day for each school for students to either pray or read the Bible. This would cut, for lack of a better word, cut into the school day to designate a time. I know as it is right now, as schedules are extremely tight, we would require a change to the bell schedules and so forth. So at this time, administration is not recommending this, but it is a board action.
far as the time, it's not giving us a time, correct? We don't know a time frame. It's going to be 15 minutes or 30 minutes.
Right, and there is a resolution attached that would indicate, that information as far as that, first of all, that we are adopting, either to move forward with it. Of course, if we decline it, then, we just need to notify TASB that we're not going to move forward with it. However, we would have to update some of our policies. So we just want to make sure. We would move forward with submitting if you do decide that you wanted to adopt that as far as a date and time. So we would have to, also indicate that moving forward with our policy, the date and time, just to make sure that we are in alignment with Senate Bill 11.
And I think the question was, and I think I'm reading a little bit, the board wishing to establish a daily period for prayer. So
Yes.
would a period be 45 minutes? I think that's what you're asking for, correct, Mr. Guerra?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, here, Steve's going to answer this.
I think it's not a full period, it's a period of time
Okay.
that you would designate. And so most that are doing this are doing it early in the day or after a lunch break. But the reason this is going to be a board agenda item is because the new bill requires that the board vote yes or no on whether you're going to do this. So if you vote yes, then you will adopt a policy, and the administration will have to go forward, create a policy, identify the time period that you're going to do it, which day you're going to do it, after which bell you're going to do it, for example, and bring that policy to the board, and then you would approve the policy. If you choose not to adopt a policy requiring the prayer time or the Bible reading time, then there's no policy to create. But you have to take a record vote at the board meeting to say yes or no.
Mr. Blanco, what's our flexibility with this? If we didn't want to call it prayer and Bible reading time and we wanted to call it personal advocacy time, and folks can use that 10, 15-minute window?
No, it is specifically for that.
That's what I figured, because that's what the state legislature does.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Martinez.
you.
Moving on then to section 5B, Curriculum and Instruction Department of the Board Briefing Agenda.
Mr. President, can we pull out 1A and 1B, please?
Okay, so 1A and 1B.
Oh, that goes down farther. Sorry. 2A.
Okay. So under secondary education, A and B.
No, so B1A, B1B,
Okay.
But yeah, secondary education.
B2A,
Okay.
and B22.
B, 2, 2.
B2C2, I guess technically is what that looks like.
On my behalf, if you could pull B1D.
B1D.
Thank you.
Okay, continuing then with B, Academic Services A, Professional Development Plan. Mr. Woodcraft.
So I really like this list because it breaks down by department, by training, and required personnel that are taking it. Most, if not all of these, have a time frame established.
Yes.
What I would love to figure out is if there's room to trim. For example, I think over the past year or two, we've heard some concerns from educators that they're overdeveloped and underprepared for classroom time because we keep adding training. And not necessarily maybe we, the board, but the state or whoever else is driving those. And so what I would love to figure, and not today, not next week, eventually, is how much of this is state-required training that we have no wiggle room on at all? How much is state-required training that we don't have wiggle room, but we might be able to ask one of our legislators to champion a change to that on the Texas legislature floor? And then how much of that is locally induced required training for employees? For example, when I was a substitute, I chuckled when I had to take slips, trips, and falls. And folks take that apparently every year. Because if you don't get it every year online, then clearly you're at a higher risk to slip, trip, and fall. And I don't understand that. So if there's any way that we can reduce the amount of professional development that we're levying on our employers so they can actually do the job that they're hired and paid to do, I would love that. I don't know that that's something that we can tackle here specifically, but I love the way that this is broken down because it tells you what department, who has to take it. Some of them have frequencies. I would just like to figure out a way if we can free up some time somewhere.
Okay. President Naha, Superintendent Vasquez, Board of Trustees. I'm Melissa Parham, Chief Academic Officer. And sir, I can definitely break that down for you. Some of this is required by legislation. Some of it is required by HR. So what I would recommend is that I color code it for you and maybe put it in your Friday packet.
No, that'd be perfect.
We can meet and discuss it.
Yep. And the answer may be nothing. Like we can't trim anything because X, Y, and that might be the answer. But I would feel remiss if I didn't ask that we at least explore the option on trying to free up some time for our employers so that they can do what they're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. I will get that to you in a Friday packet.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would also add just simply for our knowledge, it's one of the questions that we get a lot, or that at least I get a lot in terms of like,
what is mandatory, what is not mandatory.
Exactly.
I can take care of that for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on then with B1B, district calendar, Mr. Woodcraft.
So I'm really excited to see a couple of small changes in the calendar. If I read this correctly, the Monday after Easter for next year will be off. I'm assuming that's the conversation we had before where high teacher call out, low student attendance.
Yes, sir.
And so making that kind of a built-in day off will, in theory, save costs there. I also noticed that President's Day falls on the Monday following the Super Bowl. So that's also a win-win. Yes?
I'm going to say that one's not there.
Well, President's Day is a federal holiday anyways, right? Do we already have that day off, or did I misread the calendar?
No, we did. We do not have that day off.
I got excited for a second.
I know. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's okay. That's actually not a high, absentee day in looking at the data.
Yes.
That one's on me.
It was highly requested.
Well, and this is, so with the calendar, so I think that that's a good news thing, right? Like I appreciate that. A couple of things that I would ask, and again, the answer may be no, but something I would love to look at. There are some very high yield holidays. I work on Fort Bliss as a contractor, and so I'll use Veterans Day as an example. I would love to go to Veterans Day ceremonies, either for my kids or at a campus, but I'm required to work on the Friday before Veterans Day because that's a work day, and that's when most of the ceremonies are because the students actually have Veterans Day proper off. I don't know if there's an appetite there to make Veterans Day an actual school day, but if we did, there is a high probability that we would get more attendance from service members and veterans at the ceremonies on that day. It's speculation, I can't prove it, but it would make it a lot easier for me to be able to attend those if that was something that we were to look at.
Maryville Macias, Miss Macias, may have lived through this with me before, but we did do that one time. We decided either we added it as a Friday or a Monday, don't remember, to the weekend, and it did not go very well with the military. They felt like they are off on Veterans Day, we need to honor Veterans Day, and therefore we moved it back. I am sure you remember because we got a lot of pushback. It was many years ago, and we haven't deviated since, and we have not touched that holiday.
It's scar tissue. Makes sense. I got it. I was not here for that, so thank you. Thank you for the education on that one. Right, and then it may be along the same lines. Martin Luther King Jr. Day might be a possibility where more people could attend ceremonies. Something to explore. The only other thing that I would ask, and I've heard this from a couple of our fine arts folks, is if there is a way to better align our spring break with EPISD and Ysleta, that really helps with their events and aligning some of those bigger fine arts events in the spring. If we kind of follow that similar calendar. So instead of only having 4 weeks to get events in, we actually might have 6 or 8. I don't know how much coordination that would take between the big three.
I would like to say one thing. We are probably a little bit better aligned than we were. We had several requests for this calendar. That's why we only put out 1 year. We normally put out 2 years. Trying to meet these requests, one was the Monday after Easter. So when we looked at it, the Monday after Easter would have the kids coming back from intercession, coming for 2 days, and then being off. Well, we all know what that means. That means they're going to take the whole time off. So we ended up having to push up intercession into the calendar, which is more aligned with that. So it blends in with Easter Monday and Good Friday. So I think you got your wish there because it is more aligned.
So if I look at this calendar compared to the other, and again, I might have misread it
bumped it
because I
up a
already did
week.
one. Yeah, I think it overlaps 1 week, but it's not a perfect match.
Not a perfect match. It was the close we could do and balance our 9-week periods. We're probably, 9-week cycles. We're probably closest to 9 weeks than we've ever been. We balanced it there. We were able to give them that Monday off. We pushed in. We're a little bit better aligned with a couple of the districts and the fine arts schedule.
And I makes sense. I know that helps with planning for Fort Bliss soldiers when they start looking at spring vacations. The fine arts piece, I think, is an add. One thing that might help with that is if we're able to provide a draft for the following year. So if we're approving 26, 27 next week, how soon can we get a draft for 27, 28 just for forecasting?
I've got that ready. We actually are taking it to the first committee because we vet these. They've been to the associations, EPAC, principals. It's going to PAC and SAC. And we're now starting the next cycle, the 27-28 calendar. We had made so many changes on this one. We wanted to kind of work out all the kinks so that we could model it for 27-28. So we're there. I would assume that you're going to get it very shortly.
Excellent. And these are all growing pains for me. I would assume I have less questions next year when we go through this process.
Normally we do 2 years at a time. This is the first time I can remember doing 1 year at a time, but we had a lot of requests. The PD days, moving the very Monday after Easter. There was several teachers not wanting work days on Saturdays, and we also needed to gain two more instructional days back for students. So just so that we had a cushion in case we do have any kind of weather events, as I know EPISD recently had, we wanted to be prepared. So with all of those requirements, we knocked out one, now we're ready to go for the other.
Yeah, no small task by any means.
Not at all, sir.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for enlightening me on some of the areas I was blind to. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just one request.
Yes.
For administration, and this is a high interest item. Could we possibly move it to a district report and action item? That way you have the opportunity to share all these details with our community next week. And that way we don't have to pull it and it's isolated. That way it's part of report.
A presentation?
Yeah, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then B1D, school improvement plans, Ms. Macias.
Yes, kind of in the same line. I did notice that for next week, it is part of a district report or an action item. I believe it's part of a public hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's perfect because those are high interest items that we need to be talking about, which are our student outcomes.
Yes,
so anytime as we're getting these systems in place, anytime it has to do with any kind of student data, if we could put it as a report or an action items for
Absolutely.
the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Continuing then with secondary education section 2A, Mr. Woodcraft.
So this is one of these topics where I know we've talked about it before, and I think I already know the answer, Mr. Guerra. I'm just going to throw the question out there for anybody that may be watching at home. It feels like in the almost year that we've been here, one of the questions I get asked is, why are we paying the Haskins Center for graduations and why aren't we using the SACs? Can you explain some of the logistical challenges you've explained to me before about why we utilize the Haskins versus using either SAC 1 or SAC 2 for graduations?
Most definitely. Good evening, President Nahara, members of the board, Superintendent Vasquez, Carlos Guerra, Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Schools. Mr. Woodcraft, to go ahead and answer your question in regards to the utilization of the Don Haskins Center at UTEP for graduations. As most people are aware, we've been hosting graduations at the UTEP Don Haskins for some years now. I think the exception was during the COVID years. During the COVID year in 2020, we did have the opportunity to go back to SAC 1, which is where the graduations were in previously. During that time, we obviously had a reduced time because we didn't have the full graduation. We did have some wonderful experience of what El Paso's like in the summer. One of them is we did have some students faint. It's just the weather's not the friendliest in the summer in El Paso. We had a rainstorm where we had to postpone a graduation from the evening to come back to Sunday morning at 7. So the logistical concerns in regards to student safety, our parents, community members that are in their safety. We also are blessed to have lots of students in our district. We have graduations of close to 800 kids now at upcoming at East Lake High School. Pebble Hills is getting near there, so Don Haskins Center is filled up to capacity. They do have a capacity of 12,000 people that could be in the arena. So it provides not only a safe environment that shelters us from weather, any other natural situations that might happen in El Paso. In addition to that, we're able to provide the stability and give the honor that it deserves for our students in our community. Hope that helps answer the question, sir.
It does. And there's a lot of services that UTEP is able to host for us, so we're not necessarily using our own personnel. Audiovisual, for example. Can you, and it doesn't have to be all of them in detail, but can you highlight some of those services that we essentially rent from UTEP to save our staff that workload?
In addition to the rental of the actual facility, the facility does come with audio, visual, the seating arrangements, everything that anywhere from personnel that helps with the ushering. All those things are things that if we were to do it in-house will be estimated extra costs that will be continue to accrue. And honestly, the likelihood if we were to do it, for example, at either SAC 1 or SAC 2, we would have to expand it possibly over a week to accommodate probably late evening graduations. That means that our not only personnel that we're using for 2 days would have to be expanded for over a week with some late hours to include on that. So that does support anywhere from audio and visual to ushers to seating arrangements to staging and lighting, everything that comes with it, sir.
No, that's excellent. Yeah, I think it's one of the things that I looked at when we first came in was the cost-benefit analysis on the SAC versus the Haskins Center. I got educated very quickly on why we don't do it at the SAC, and I just wanted to make sure that as we get into that graduation season again, for anyone that may have that question, from the horse's mouth. So I appreciate it, Mr. Guerra. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to celebrating our students.
That's all I had, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Continuing then with B22, the Vida Health Center BU Adolescent Health Program Renewal. Mr. Woodcraft.
So this is one of those topics that I didn't realize we did until I saw it come up for a renewal. So I'm actually thankful for that process because I get to learn something. I think if we can get it in time for next week, great. If not, maybe just some topical level numbers now. But what have been the results for this program for us over the past 10 years that we've implemented it? The packet gives us a little information on what it does, but it didn't really give me the depth that I was hoping for to learn from the program. So maybe even just a brief presentation about Vida Health and kind of what they provide to our campuses, I would appreciate.
Yes, sir. I won't say I'm back because I never left the stage. But to address you once again, Mr. Woodcraft, in regards to the Project Vida program that we've had it for over 10 years. We're looking for a renewal. The program, the instructional program is called the Be Well. And we work with all comprehensive high schools. We have some selected middle schools and one elementary program that we're working with. SHAC approved curriculum. It does go through our SHAC committee. Working with adults and with our teenagers and strategies that we could do in regards to being proactive approach to health concerns, how to deal with conflict resolution and growing up and making healthy choices, anywhere from eating to choices in health. In addition to that, we do have a referral system where Project Vida does provide a licensed behavioral health clinician and a navigator, which is the one that deals with the cases at each one of the campuses. They will get parent permission. They will work with the students and provide counseling as needs are provided, whether they're emotional need for their further counseling or even referral to other services throughout our county or the state on social services are provided and they're geared towards the Project Vida organization.
And can you help me understand the student assistance program that's going to be piloted at Eastlake?
So that one has actually been in place. It's a continuation of it. The student assistance program is specifically when we have students that are in need. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes we have students that are going through emotional distress or substance abuse. They will be linked through parental concern through the navigator and then the licensed professional, behavioral professional. Direct service at the campus, that means that the family and the students don't necessarily have to go anywhere. They are provided with counseling service at the campus. So Project Vida does have office at each one of our campuses. So they're housed in there. That way when they need to call out a student, the family does not need to go ahead and make appointments and take the kid out of class. We're providing services at the actual campus.
Perfect. For the parental consent piece, I think it was SB 3 where we had to have the new forms that had everybody sign.
SB 12, yes, sir.
12, excuse me, thank you. So does this program fall under SB 12 for the parental consent piece as well? Or is it a different parental consent process?
So the answer is yes. Since its inception, it's always had a parental consent aspect to it, because that is part of the process whenever we refer any student to organization or we have any counseling organization working directly with the students. In addition to that, due to SB 12, they've been part of the consent form. So now we're actually looking into adding some of the Project Vida components into our actually council forms that we're going to have through our online registration form for the upcoming school year.
Excellent. And for the parental consent, is it an opt-in, or did parents have to opt their students out?
In the case of Project Vida, because it is a direct contact with the student and with the family, we would contact them. The program would actually contact them directly, and so you're chosen to be part of the program. So this is not something that's offered. They have a caseload that they could manage.
Perfect.
So each depending on the capacity of each case, of each campus and the cases they could hold.
And then, no, that's excellent. I think the only other concern I had was the data collection piece, but I'm assuming that follows the HIPAA type data collection and data control.
You're correct, sir. Yes,
Okay.
we do have a data sharing agreement with them.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Guerra.
Any more
Appreciate it.
questions?
I hope that's it.
Yes, sir.
But because it's the first time I'm learning about this, I had a ton. So next year, probably not.
Glad to be helpful.
I do have a question, Mr. Guerra. This particular program and this memorandum of understanding that we have with Project Vida, this also covers the school-based mental health services, or is that a separate program from Project Vida as well?
It is part of the coverage. Now, I think what we have with Project Vida, and just like we have, sometimes the needs that we have in our communities are much greater. So we have our counseling teams that do an excellent job providing daily services to our students. Right. So Project Vida happens to be in addition to that, to a specific group of kids. Okay. In addition to that, we also have, of course, CIS, and then we're always looking for opportunities to make sure that we're trying to meet as many needs of our students.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Any
you,
more
Mr.
questions?
Guerra.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Continuing then with emergency management. Any questions for the item listed under emergency management? Okay, continuing then with D, financial services. Any questions for the items under financial services?
So I believe it's D2.
D2.
Mr. Solis, correct me if I'm wrong, the collateral report. Is that under the financial reports and quarterly investment?
Good evening again, David Salif, Chief Financial Officer for the district. So that is within the financial and the quarterly report, so it is embedded in there.
Perfect. So D2.
Okay, Mr. Woodcraft, D2.
Yes, I think that's it.
I didn't hear anything else, so Mr. Woodcraft, D2.
Oh,
your question, sir.
Sorry, I thought you left it open. So, I believe this is the first time we've seen the collateral report in the financial reports. I think I understand what a collateral report is, but can you help explain that to me to make sure that I'm not misinterpreting our assets versus our debt?
No, so the collateral report is it's kind of like the insurance that the bank provides us for our deposits. So what we're required to do is whenever there's an amount of money that is being wired into our account, we have to notify the bank so that they can ensure that they have enough collateral or funds set aside to ensure that deposit. So typically what we do whenever we get our federal deposits, we notify them that, we're going to be receiving a large deposit of $35 million, so that we ensure that we are collateralized, or we have enough insurance against that that deposit. Typically, you can see that we're typically about 110% each day. So we're above the threshold. It's something that we've worked with Wells Fargo. So we thought we'd provide you that report, so this way you know every month that we are our funds are insured whenever they come in. So that's why we started providing you with this report. I think the first time you might have seen it might have been the last time, but I just didn't highlight it. But I'm glad that you brought it up. But that's what that report is telling you. It's really from the banking side to make sure that we are doing our part to notify them and that our funds are protected as they come in.
And so what this collateral report doesn't consist of are any real property assets or anything that we may leverage for future debt, correct?
No, that's correct. This is just from the bank side. It's just to show you that we are doing our part to ensure that our funds are properly insured at the bank or covered at the bank.
I assume that's what it was. I just want a clarification. Thank you, Mr. Solis.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Solis. Moving on then to section E, Human Resources Department. Any items to be discussed from Human Resources section?
E1.
Sorry, E1.
And the other thing I just want to mention is that now we're separating board work and the superintendent's work, and I'm glad that now we're letting the superintendent decide as far as the recommendation, where does it have to come to the board now? That's what I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
So the revisions, Ms. Stiles, the revisions to this policy are only truly to reflect, again, the training that we received through LSG, that there's a definite delineation between superintendent work and board work. We have engaged in the discussion where certain positions, basically all positions other than the superintendent, should fall under superintendent work, and this policy ensures alignment with that so that it's the superintendent who is making the decisions, correct?
Yes, so good evening, President Nájera, members of the board, Superintendent Mr. Vasquez, Selena Stiles, Chief Human Resources Officer for the district. Yes, sir, you are correct. The additional revisions to this policy are just more addressing the interview process and how we will continue the current interview process, but we've kind of shifted the piece that was where we would bring it to the board, and we updated it to include the information piece that where Mr. Vasquez will be providing the information to the board of the recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Stiles.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, discussion?
Mr. Vasquez or Ms. Stiles, when do we expect this to 100% fully be implemented? Like all in, this is how we're doing business now?
Now.
Now, yeah.
Perfect. Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Stiles.
Thank you.
Continuing then with F, Police Services. Any items to be discussed there?
F1B.
F1B. All right, Ms. Macias, F1B.
Yes, Chief, if this is gonna come to the board next week, I'll just pull it. That way you could highlight that interoperability that you're doing with Isleta Pueblo del Sur Tribal Department. I think that's amazing how you work with all of our entities to keep us safe as a community. So I'll just pull it. That way you could do a little PR.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Superintendent Vasquez, President Nájera, board members. My name is George Johnson. I'm the Chief of Police for Socorro ISD PD. That resolution that's going through with Tribal and with us is for us to be in conformance with House Bill 33 with the interoperability of radios. So it does not cost any money to the district or to the Tiguas, and we'll have radio communications in the event of any major emergency.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you, Chief.
any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the last section, Technology Services Department. Any items for discussion there?
G1 and 2, please.
G1, G2. All right, G1, Mr. Woodcraft.
Sir, welcome.
Hello, sir.
So I know and no fault of yours or your predecessors, but IT and IT management and tech refresh and lifecycle replacement has been a struggle for the district for the past few years. Not that I have any consternation in any form with what's being presented, but if you could just give me and us a quick assessment of how this helps us get healthy from an IT infrastructure perspective, I would appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Board President Nájera, Board members, Superintendent Vasquez. So this is a purchase that is critical. We're leveraging some contracts from the E-rate that was presented last month to the board and you all approved. So what we're doing is leveraging that contract to bring in.
Mr. Hernandez, I'm sorry. Name and title, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Horacio Hernandez, Chief Technology Officer.
Thank you, sir.
And leveraging that contract to buy network electronics. So the current situation with network electronics at the data center and some of the non-instructional facilities as well as the campuses is they're 10 to 12 years old. So we're leveraging the E-rate opportunities from the federal funding to buy some of those equipment. At the data center, we're trying to buy and finding some savings from the E-rate program to fund some of those purchases for those servers that are actually 13 years old. So we're being specific and seeing what is it that we can buy, taking the approach instead of buying it in full amounts, it's taking it year by year in phases and waves and see how much we can afford as we go with the current budget that we have at hand.
And you stated some of the equipment we're using is between 10 and 13 years old. What's the typical life cycle for that equipment?
Well, normally for servers, I mean, the normal life expectancy should be between 5 and 8 years old. So we need those servers replaced. We have some old operating systems that are still running, and man, we need to update those for sure.
Yeah, and so I think this is one of those great opportunities where if we could start to get it phased in now and do life cycle replacements every couple of years versus trying to buy in bulk every 5 to 8 years, we're eventually going to be much better off.
Yes, sir.
So I really appreciate us moving in towards that direction and making some of these replacements.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's all I had, Mr. President.
Okay, moving on then with G2, Mr. Woodcraft.
No, that was the same. We covered both.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we made it through our first board briefing. There being no further business before this board, we are adjourning at 6:37 p.m. The date is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. Thank you. Good night.